Welcome to our cupán tea. Spirit of God, descend upon my heart, wean it from earth, through all its pulses move. Stoop to my weakness, mighty as thou art, and make me love thee as I ought to love. I ask no dream, no prophet's ecstasies, no sudden rendering of the veil of clay, no angel visitant, no opening skies, but take the dimness of my soul away. Teach me to feel that thou art always nigh. Teach me the struggles of the soul to bear, to check the rising doubt, the rebel sigh. Teach me the patience of unanswered prayer. I ask no dream, no prophet's ecstasies, no sudden rendering of the veil of clay, no angel visitant, no opening skies, but take the dimness of my soul away. This is a hymn written by George Crowley, who happened to be an Irishman. But the thing that really struck me about this is that this man is only asking one thing. He's asking that God would take the dimness of his soul away. He doesn't want to have any euphoric experiences or anything else, or visions or anything else. He just wants the dimness of his soul removed, so that he is in a understanding of who God is in his fullness. And the thing that has actually been on my mind this last few weeks is this. The one scripture from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And just to give a little bit of context, it goes and says, this is Paul writing, to keep me from becoming conceited because of these surpassing great revelations, there was given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, Paul says, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why for Christ's sake I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I would go and say that that is quite unique to Paul. Most of us, if we were having all of those issues and difficulties, would capitulate. We would give up. We would let our race be run across. And I want to ask you, in regard to your life right now, are you someone, and though you may have a thorn in the side, that thorn has brought you to a full stop? It wasn't that it didn't stop you from being conceited. It just stopped you. I think it's interesting that Paul goes and mentions about this, that he prayed 3 times. And here's the question, or the thing I would like you to ponder is this. What if God gives you the answer that you don't want? In the hymn, George Crowley goes and says, teach me the patience of unanswered prayer. What about answered prayer, but an answer that you don't like? What about that? How does that sit with you? The other thing that really strikes me about this is Paul is going and saying that he is someone who is, as a result of this weakness, focused on who the Lord is. Are you focused on who the Lord is in your weaknesses? Or do you shake your fist at God, blame him for it? And the Bible is full of stories like that. Where do you sit today? Does that come to a point then that because of your anger with God, that's what stops you? Maybe it's sin that stops you. But remember this, my grace is sufficient for you. Pick yourself up. That's what the world goes and says. Pull yourself up by the bootlaces. No, recognize that God has given you the grace for this day. We have a friend, and he continuously tells us when we go on our organising to meet up, that if God gives him the grace, he'll be there. And I would actually say that the Lord has given him the grace nearly every time because he's still alive. Because every day we begin our day, it begins with the grace of God. See, it's all about the Lord. And what Paul is saying is that because of who he was and because of his walk with God and because he was a Pharisee, he knew his weak point was pride. And he knew that by having this thorn in this flesh, this messenger from Satan, it was keeping him humble. He couldn't be the arrogant person that he wanted to be. Why? Not only was it keeping him humble, it was keeping him focused on Christ. It was keeping him focused on the Lord. It was keeping him that he knew that the only way forward for him in his weakness was the grace of God. And so right now, maybe you're someone and your race is being cut off. Maybe you're someone and you received the wrong answer to prayer. God has not delivered you out of your situation. Maybe you're someone and you're struggling right now. Maybe you're someone and you can't see the wood from the trees, as it goes and says. But in all of those circumstances, the message is still the same. God is saying to you today, my grace is sufficient for you. Sufficient means that there's nothing lacking. There's no weakness in it. It's exactly what you need. So, in the light of that knowledge, in the light of the fact that you know that you have God's grace and it is sufficient for you in your weakness, let me ask you this one question. What is stopping you from pressing on and living the victorious life that God has given you? Let me leave that question with you.